Welcome everyone to another talk of Bless India Health Program. And this health talk, we're going to deal with a very unusual topic, loneliness and the Pygmalion effect. Well, with Christmas around the corner, most of you would raise your eyebrows and say, with all the festivity around, why are you talking about loneliness? Could you be lonely in a crowd? Could you be lonely when everyone is joyful all around you? Could you be lonely in your ambition, in your purposes in life, in your vision in life? Could you be lonely in marriage? Could you be lonely in a church with a lot of worship songs around you? You could, because Adam, when he was placed in the Garden of Eden, it was a place of exquisite beauty with all creation around him and all kinds of animals all living together in harmony. Yet, God said, Adam was lonely and God created Eve. So, what did she do? Eve brought in that, I don't know, I may be right, I may be wrong. We have the speaker to confirm with us. Could have brought in that Pygmalion effect. That is, it's a psychological phenomena I heard from someone's high expectations improves our own behavior and our own performance in a given area. And that's what probably Eve did. I do not know. So we call upon a very eminent speaker, a psychotherapist, Mr. Billy Paul, who's here with us. Now his focus is on building a righteous society with core biblical values. He had done a master's in counseling psychology in the University of Madras. He has a diploma in family therapy from ICPEM. He has a certificate in advanced psychology from Yale University, United States. And he's also a certified cognitive behavioral therapist from Sussex Hypnotherapy Center, UK. He's the associate member of American Psychological Association, and at present, he runs a private clinic in Chennai named Gilead Wellness and Counseling. He's a prolific writer, and I myself have read some of his writings in leading magazines and newspapers. And he's married to Julia, who is also a senior journal manager in Elsevier. And together they have two adorable children, Abigail and Edidia, in Chennai. I won't take any of his time because he is very interesting. He's very interactive. He'll get you involved in talking and discussing this very interesting subject of loneliness and the Pygmalion effect. So without taking any more of our time, I hand you over to Billy Paul. The time is all yours, Brother Billy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hansa. You are, such a blessing. Just looking at your face, the cheerful face you have, I think every illness, will just fly away. Thank you for your, kind words of introduction. And I'm so privileged to be a part of this Bless India movement, where we are so much burdened for our country and its education landscape and its health landscape. And I know most of you are here who are veteran doctors. I feel like a dwarf in front of you in terms of experience you have in this medical field. Thank you all for joining in. I know I'm going to keep it more interactive so that we can all learn from each other. And we'll also have a time of Q&A. I know this time I'm planning to keep it very short. The last time I think it went beyond 1 hour, and so I would like to just speak for 45 minutes, and then maybe the last 15 to 20 minutes. I think that is where we need to. In fact, I was talking to last week. I was I was part of a conference, a medical conference, and I told them, people come, people go. We talk a lot, but we are not able to address the existential crisis of our generation today. That's where we, especially as a church, we need to be there, right? We say hi, we say bye, we ask somebody, how are you? They say, I'm fine. But in reality, as a psychologist, let me tell you, they are not fine. They are not. Some to some extent, and some to a great extent. And when are they going to say that I'm not fine, I need help? Only when we become authentic, only when we show genuine love, extend our arm of support. And that's when people are going to open up, they're going to come forward, ask for help, and that's when real healing starts. So I would believe this forum BIP especially is doing a lot of things in that front, where we need to be there and address the existential crisis this country is facing, especially in terms of mental health. There is so much going on. There is so much going on, but very few are talking about it. So today, without wasting much time, I'll only talk for 45 minutes from now. But then I would like to keep the floor open for any questions. If you're shy, please send in anonymous. If you want to send in questions anonymously, you can send it to me directly, or you can send it to one of the organizers, telling them not to mention your name. Right? We will try to we have to, as medical professionals, we are bound by our oath. One of our ethics is to keep client cases confidential. So we are here to help you. So even after this, right, if you're watching this program online, we would want you to reach out to us. Please do not hesitate to ask for help before it is too late. We will be glad to assist you in a one-on-one basis on a confidential mode. So without wasting much time, let me open up my PowerPoint. Okay, so I know many of you would be a little curious to know what is it about with this title, Loneliness and the Pygmalion Effect. So I will explain it from a little while from now. I want to set the context first, set the background, set the platform, so that you understand where I'm going to go, and then I'll explain this Pygmalion effect. And don't worry, it's a very simple concept, though it is not directly related to loneliness. But then I thought the more I understood Pygmalion effect, I thought loneliness, the way it plays in our life, has to do with how this effect plays into. So when you look at this picture, that's my first question. What comes to your mind? Just random thoughts. You can use the chat window. When you look at this picture here, it looks as a family of multi-generation. What
They look happy.
anybody? If you want to, sorry, and Dr. Answer,
They look happy.
they look happy. Okay. Is everyone looking happy? Yeah, to some
Except
extent.
Grandpa, I think.
I think they
Okay,
look
thank you.
distracted. They look a little bit
Sorry,
distracted. They look a little bit distracted.
distract Dr. Mega. Thank you so much. One of them is not in the chat. Amishi is saying one of them is not. Can you identify who's that, Amishi? When you are
They are
saying
not looking
Grandpa,
at each other.
Alexander is also saying Grandpa. Sorry,
They are not looking at each other,
they're not
smiling.
looking at each other. Who said that? That was a wonderful, observation. Yes.
I feel each one is having different emotions. It's not like uniformly they are seeming to happy. I feel
Yeah. Yeah.
like somebody is like grimly
Yeah.
happy and they are not happy totally, and somebody is like say for example the grandmother is interested in others, it seems, and
Mm.
the lady
Mm.
is very showy, and the small girl is very bubbly, and actually so
Okay.
there is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now that you've gone to,
Brother George
let me.
Verghese, Brother George
Yeah.
Verghese put in the chat, they are in their own world, each one in their
Everyone in
own
their own
world.
world.
I think he
Yes.
said it
Yes.
all.
Yeah. 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 Now, if I give you a little context behind this family, let me say, his grandmother and grandfather had one son, and he had married this girl who's there in this picture, and these two young kids are their children. Now, can you make some sense out of it? So, look at the grandfather, his son, and the grandchildren. And the other way to look at it is look at all the three male figures here and all the three female figures here. Is there something which strikes you? All three male figures versus all three female figures?
Almost their emotions are similar for the male, and their expressions also similar for the male.
Yes, Dr. Satya, you got it. Yes, yes, yes. In psychology, right? This is one of my subject, even as I do my, PhD also, this is something which I'm very interested in. how this intergenerational transmission process, how it works. Right, in your houses, I don't know how many of you agree with me, right? Have you inherited some of your mother's trait if you are a daughter, and if you're a son, have you inherited some of your father's traits and behavior? I'm not saying, in generic, there might be some exceptions here or there, but mostly you would find that if your father is grumpy, you would also be grumpy. If your father is stingy, you would also be stingy. But if your father is very, very extrovert, open minded, you might find yourself also to be an open minded person. And if your mother is a bubbly character, and you might find yourself also to be a bubbly character. And if you think your mother is so shy that she would not venture out to outside the home, you might also to some extent find yourself similar to your mother. How many of you do you agree with this statement? And you can use the chat window, you can unmute your mics and let me know. I know there are some exceptions. Today we are living in a different time where we have become so bold, we have become so brave. Dr. Hansa is saying, I agree. Yeah, I'm not saying, it's a 100% match. Yeah, Sam Delhi is saying that's true. Thank you. But you will find more or less, you might have inherited a lot of traits, mannerisms, not to mention even the body language. I sometimes sit exactly how my father used to sit, the way I, keep my hands on my lap, on my thighs, and the way I fold my legs, yeah. So that's yes, it's true mostly. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Just a small icebreaker to start with, so we are all products of our environment, and that is something we need to keep in mind, because this is one of the key elements we're going to study today. Moving on to the next slide. Okay. Tell me, before we move on to the main subject, your experiences, how is your life going on? I asked this question early on, saying, if I ask you, how are you, Dr. Hansa? Obviously, definitely, it's not going to be, a very deep conversation. Even if you ask me, how are you, Billy? I'm not going to straight away say, oh, I'm going through this and that. That doesn't mean I'm not going through a lot of challenges. I do. So just talk about, from a generic perspective, what are the different things we go through on a daily basis? What are some of your experiences? Look at this picture. There's a movie called Life as We Know It. And, by the way, these real parents of this young child, this beautiful, adorable baby who is on the screen in front of you, and this two, I'm not going to the movie. I think you should see that to, really enjoy that movie. But just tell me, who's happy here out of these three characters, and how does your life look like compared to this three characters in this movie, Life as We Move It, as we see in this picture? Just tell me, what are some of the things which we go through every day? Just look at these three characters in this movie, and the man, the woman, and the child. Mother is happy, Alexandra is saying, seems to be happy, but still, is she really happy? Okay, yeah, Alexandra, you're right. Uh, any other thoughts?
I
What's
think the
going on
father
here?
looks a
There are
little
some.
disappointed. Father looks a little disappointed. By the baby not sort of paying attention. Yeah,
It's not amused. The baby is not amused. Okay, that's a good thought, Dr. Megha. Any other thoughts?
The resemblance
Yeah.
between the father and the, again, here also, you can see the angle of the eyes of father as well as the baby. You can see the way they look. But the mother is different.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
cool.
Yes. Yes. And that's the beauty of marriage. We'll talk about it some other day when we have a session on marriage. Many people, they are so much upset about all the differences, and they get upset. But in fact, God intentionally put those differences between a male and a female, right? And that's why Adam was married to Eve instead of getting married to another Adam. So that is something which we should discuss on a different day, maybe sometimes next year. But yes, you're right, Dr. Satya. Yes, they look very different, and
Uh,
it is good. I would say, I would say it is okay. Yeah. Amishi says
the
only the father
father look,
looks nice.
the father looks very stressed out. The mother seems to be unaware of what's happening, with the food all spilt over the table and everything, in a mess. And the little boy is happy about the mess he has created. But mother is in a different world. Father is
Yeah.
deeply worried about something.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Being a
The
father, I can
father
tell
and
you
the,
there are hundreds of, yeah,
the
there are
father
hundreds
and the
of things
baby
we
are
need to,
looking at something, but the mother is
yeah.
admiring the baby.
Uh,
That's a good point.
very right. Yeah. And Amishi is making an interesting comment. Only the father looks concerned about the mess baby made, while mother is adoring the child. Wow. Amishi, I'm so glad, you brought this wonderful point, I think you're going to have a wonderful married life because you understood how a man works. Because a man really takes in a lot of things, and he's totally stressed out about all the things he thinks he is responsible. And yeah, you're right. And the mother, despite all the mess around her, she's still putting on a brave face and a happy face. That speaks a lot about the motherly love. So yes, we need both the father and the mother. Father who's like that Hercules, who can take up all this load, and this mother who can stay calm in all this, so that she can balance this whole emotional load a family goes through. Yes. So while we are on this slide, if anybody else would like to share, some of the points I've listed here are, stress, right, which we go through in office, at home. Failure is another thing which we go through every day, which makes us more anxious, which makes us more vulnerable to all sorts of mental health and disorders. Rejections, right? Job rejections, people rejections, societal rejections, injustice, which happens almost on a daily basis in a country like us, in one way or the other. Um, Sickness, and then we have all this something which you cannot control, acts of nature, like recently we had this Wayanad uh, landslide, which was very unfortunate, and even now Chennai being flooded now and then, and different parts of India going through natural calamities, which we have no say in it. And sickness, all of us go through one way or the other, right? Sometimes because of the lifestyle we lead, or sometimes due to natural decay, right, as we go old. And the last one is psychological stress. I'm going to spend some more time on that, because uh, um, sickness, yes, to great extent we can control, but sometimes we cannot control. Force majeure, it's not at all in our hands. But the psychological stress is something which I would really like to talk about. Yes, Alexander said money is not enough to maintain. Worry starts clear all bill. Yes, you're right, Alexander. Lots of things. Today our life is not easy. People say, we are so well off compared to 2 centuries ago, even 50 years ago. We have become so modern. Technology has improved. I would say no, not at all. Right? The more the technology improves, the more we are getting into a kind of a trap, because we're not able to understand the technology very well. We're not able to use the technology very well, and and today clearly we are it's a complicated world. It's not a complicated world. I mean, she's saying not feel like working sometimes, but still can't take a break in this fast moving world. Thank you, Amishi. You're so open, you're so transparent. I like what you're saying. Yes, we want to take break, but then we are unable to take break. In fact, I recently wrote an article which came in the newspaper about the death of a young CA professional in Pune. Just 4 months into her career, she just completed her education, and she joined this huge, I mean, this well-renowned, reputed MNC, which I will not mention. Um, just 4 months into her career, she passed away because she was not able to take that load. Exactly what Amishi was saying. Not feel like working sometimes, but still can't take a break in this fast-moving world, right? So there are a lot of things, Anybody else, any other experience you want to share, like what Amishi said? What are some of the challenges of today which humankind faces? I mentioned it as negative stress because there is something also called as positive stress, right? So sometimes it can really motivate you to achieve great things in life. But then there are also negative stress. So, mm, yeah, I hope all of you agree with what we are discussing here. And life is becoming more challenging. Life has become more complex, complicated. In fact, in IT, they have coined a term called VUCA, 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 which means it's a volatile environment. V for volatile, U for uncertain, and C for complex, and A for ambiguous, right? Even the best of the minds, the one who coined this term, they are saying, hey, we live in such uncertain times. The situation is so fluid. We just cannot decide what to do. We can only take a gut feeling and then take a decision and just hope it turns out well. Most of the time, it's so ambiguous. The results, the data itself is so ambiguous. We don't know what to do with this data. It looks just like Google. I'm telling you, Google is one bunch of garbage, which I've seen in my lifetime. You just go and type in a coffee, drinking coffee is good, and you'll get a lot of scholarly articles about how drinking coffee is good. And then the next moment you try drinking coffee is bad, you will get a lot of scholarly articles which tells you drinking coffee is bad. Now, which one is correct? Sometimes it's a bouncer, even for medical doctors. So, I can sympathize with a lot of you, what you are going through in your life. It is not easy. It is not straightforward anymore. In fact, yesterday, somebody, who was coming to me for counseling, they asked me, Billy, I've not come here for any other help. I just want your help on time management. I said, like, you have come to me, come to the wrong person, because I myself am struggling with all that. It's not easy, right? He said, Billy, how do I even, keep up my promises, my responsibilities, when people are not honoring my time? So in the end, I have to tell him, just relax. Don't try to be in control of your life. Leave it in the hands of God. It's impossible. It's impossible to plan anything. In fact, I don't know how Dr. Ansar thought about me. I couldn't be in touch with her for the last 1 week, because I myself, I was running from one pillar to post, from one seminar to another. I didn't even have to even respond to some of her messages, and I felt so bad. And I told this guy who came to me for counseling, you came to the wrong person. Life has become so complex. So I can sympathize with a lot of you, what you're going through. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of comments. Let me read what is going on here. Sujata is saying, taking the full load of family alone while the spouse is not bothered about it. I agree with you 100%. The spouse can be male or female. I agree with you, Sujata. It happens. And Sam from Delhi is saying, breakdown of societal values is one big reason for stress. Absolutely. One of the biggest reason, I would say, Sam, I completely agree with you. Breakdown of societal values. And Dr. Satya is saying the workplace always demands successful, strong, progressive people. Sometimes I wonder, if they only recruit all those strong, successful people, why are they constantly looking for people? But that shows that they are not able to achieve what they want to achieve. They need to change their strategy. It is not working, right? Doing the same old mistake again and again and expecting something different is not going to yield anything different. And the corporate world is a classic example of it. Thank you, Dr. Satya. They have always been demanding. They've always been recruiting the right people. They've always been recruiting the successful ones. They always want the cream of the creamy layer, and still they want more. That shows that they have not achieved their objectives, right? So they are in this constant loop. We're going to see this loop very short line, and on the feedback loop from hell, which I'm going to explain to you. So thank you, Dr. Satya, for bringing up those subjects. Let me move on. Next screen, are we a lack of prayer so much? Yes, Alexander, absolutely. You are bang on target. So there's one more movie, Happy Single, and again, this is also a movie which I don't want to get into the details of it. But I brought this subject because one of the reasons we are even discussing this subject on loneliness and the Pygmalion. I want to give you a brief, please listen to me just for 2 minutes before we go on into the slide. Man is a social animal. I believe all of you agree with me, right? Man is a social animal. Um, some of the basic desires which we have is, or the basic human needs, we would say, like, food and water, right? So that's why we feel hungry, right? When we feel hungry, there is something called that shows that we need food, and to satisfy that hunger we eat. And when we are thirsty, that shows that we need water, right? So the signal is thirsty, and the source is water. And once we drink water, that particular need is fulfilled. Similarly, pain is another signal, biological signal. All these are biological signal. Let me tell you, across age, across nationalities, across religion, creed, community, nationality, everybody goes through these signals which has been biological in nature. That means God has designed our bodies in such a way so that our body, our soul, our mind are in proper fit and shape. So we feel hunger, that's a signal, and that means we need food, so we eat. We feel thirsty, that means there's a signal for water. And then sometimes we feel pain, and that is a signal that something is wrong with our body. And we go and get treated, or we avoid injury, right? And then there is a signal called being lonely. Now, many people, many times we think this is something which is man-made, right? This is something, which we all have to understand. Just as God designed hunger, thirst, we have a feeling of hunger. I feel hungry. I feel thirsty. I feel pain in my abdomen. Similarly, I feel lonely. So just as we feel hunger, that signal, there is something called food, so that we can get that signal from the red light. We can bring it to the green light. By drinking water, we get that red light of thirsty, we bring it to green light. Similarly, when we feel lonely, that means that's a red signal, and the only way that signal can become green is by having meaningful relationships. Now, who designed it? It was God, right? So what is the solution to it? It's very simple. Just as we feel hunger, there's food, we eat food, we drink water, we avoid injury. And then to avoid feeling lonely, we have to get connected. Now, that is easier said than done, right? Get connected. I know it's not so easy, but I just want you to understand the framework in which originally God intended us to live, right? Adam and then Eve became a family. I mean, as a couple, and then they had children. And then that one family became a joint family. Later on, it became a community, and then later on, they became a nation. And that's how the world has evolved and survived. Even in conditions of hardships, hunter-gatherers who had a genetic disposition to experience social pain from social separation, they were more, in favor of surviving from wild animals and other existential threats. So it was absolutely designed by God to live together harmoniously, yes, but at least to live together, not away from each other. But fast forward all these years, ever since Adam and Eve was there in that beautiful Garden of Eden, and look at where we are today. Today, you won't believe me, there is such a propaganda going on in this world. Last time when I spoke with you, I spoke to you about some of the propaganda, like the feminism movement and so on, and a lot of other things I talked to you about. Though I'm a firm supporter of women's rights and women's empowerment, I told you there is a big lobby. There's a big propaganda behind all this movement, and their only ultimate goal is to move away from the will of God, and to take us away from the design and structure and the beauty which God intended for us, and to make us mar, our soul to be marred beyond recognition. That is their only single focus. And today I'm going to talk about one more movement called self-care movement. You won't believe me. From next day, from tomorrow onwards, whenever you see a meme, ready, M-E-M-E, some people call it memes, or and a meme, whatever you see on the internet. There's a lot of WhatsApp status. Sometimes when I'm free, I see all those WhatsApp status which people put on their, on the WhatsApp. Watch carefully, read the fine print. You will understand what is going on in this world, and then you will have an answer to why we are struggling, why there is so much stress, why there is so much loneliness, why there is so much depression, why there is so much suicides, why there is so much divorce, why we have become one giant mess, a train wreck in American language. That's the moment called self-care moment. Today, I don't have much time, but if you read the fine print of most of the meanings, right? In fact, there are a lot of Insta therapists, I feel, sometimes really, really upset with all those people who claim themselves to be psychologists on Instagram. They just post all this five techniques to be peaceful, five techniques to, really have a great day, five techniques to build your married life. Everyone employs this self-care movement. Again, I'm telling you, there's a lobby behind it. It's a propaganda to take us away from the will of God, destroy our human soul, mar our very existence, and that movement, if you really read the fine print, do you know what they are saying? You are sufficient all by yourself. You don't need anybody else. You don't owe anyone any explanation. The meme will not say this directly. You have to read the fine print. Get away from toxic people. They are really spoiling your peace, your harmony, your they're not. It's not worth it. If you think if your office is full of toxic people, if they're full of all those people who are really, really, they're not leaving you alone. They're intruding into your private space. They're not giving you free time. They're not giving you me time. Have you heard this term called me time? No, I'm not against all this. That there has to be a balance, right? And I know, in fact, sometimes we need time just for ourselves, right? Maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maximum, but 24 hours. I don't understand this. Today, you know about me. I know some of you that my specialization is in family therapy. I see a lot of people who go through divorce. You won't believe me. The majority of them who come to me, they come to me for flimsy reasons. I just don't understand what is going on. Sometimes when I look at them, I cannot show emotions. As a psychologist, I cannot show emotion. But sometimes, I come back home and then, I'm just processing what happened that whole day. My wife comes and asks me, without revealing the details of some of the clients. I tell her, whom I met today. And she just stares at me and says, really? Is this the reason they want to get divorced? You'll be shocked. My body, my choice. You don't have to owe anybody any explanation. Do not worry about what others say. If you think you are right, you are right. If they don't believe you, that's their problem. If they cannot stand you, that's fine. You don't stand in front of them, come out of them. Your peace is more important. Guard your privacy, say no to everything. And guess what happened? We came out. We are all alone now. And then we realized, oh my goodness, you won't believe me the number of people. The last time, I don't know, some of you attended my my session on, I don't know what I talked about, family. My last slide, I said, I want more divorcees to come out and speak, because I know some of them who are open, brave, honest, who are really, really, if they're honest, they will say, Billy, I thought I would be happy if I marry the second time. I thought if I'll be happy if I just divorce and come out of all this. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know, Billy, but I don't know what to say. In these few lines, I can understand that they are not happy. So we just came out. We thought that liberation would give us freedom and all this, imaginary utopian world which this, this self-care movement promises us. And then we realized that we are stuck between four walls. At the most, we have a cat and a dog to speak to. We should praise God for those wonderful, beautiful creatures. At least they will not turn their backs on us. But then God didn't want a cat and a dog to marry Adam. God didn't say that's going to be your life partner. God didn't say, no, that will satisfy. In fact, I often have this question. I don't know why am I going to marriage again and again, being one of my favorite topics. I always ask this question, man, when God said, man, it is not good for a man to be alone. In fact, that statement really is a big bouncer to me, because you know why? God, in fact, came and met Adam every day in the cool of the evening. They had such lovely fraternity, wonderful fellowship, right? When God himself is with you, what else do you need? But still God says it is not good for a man to be alone. On what sense? And that's where you have to understand the beauty of marriage. I'm not going to talk about it today. There was something which God realized man was missing. And that's where he brings in Eve so that he becomes complete. Adam and Eve together, they become complete. He didn't bring a cat and a dog, because the cat and the dog was already there. And he said in front of the cat and dog, he said, hey, you know what? This man is still not complete. It's not good for a man to be alone. And today you see where we are. We are trying to go back against the plans and purposes of God. We are stuck between these four walls. We think, okay, now that I've got rid of this toxic people, I've got rid of this toxic company, I've got rid of this toxic marriage, I've got rid of this toxic place, I've got rid of all this. Now I'm all alone, and I think my privacy is guarded. I think my, everything, I think I'm going to have a great life. Boom! All hell breaks loose. We need to really seriously ponder what's going on here. Okay, let me move on. I need to be very careful. As I told you, I promised I'll talk a little today. I know I'm setting the cat among the pigeons with all my controversial statements. I'll be having a lot of questions today. But please, let's have a good discussion towards the end. I have a lot of experts here who can also help me. Meanwhile, I have a quick look at the chat window. Vasanta Edward is saying self-awareness movement too. Yes, madam. Dr. Satya is saying, yes, disguised age-wise self-promotive programs are alluring people every time. Yes, you're right, Dr. Satya. There is no place for sacrificial love in every relationship. It's always as long as I'm not burdened. Yes, you got it. Me time. Me. I want everybody to bow at me and serve me, and I'm not going to serve anybody. And because it takes time, because it takes a lot of hard work, because it takes a lot of price. I have to pay a price. I'm not willing to do that. If you can massage me, that will be great. I'm not going to pay you 1 cent for all the work you're going to do for me. That's the kind of thing self-care movement is actually, it's actually offering us. And that is not self-sustainable. That is not viable in the long run at all. Maybe today, it works fine. In the long run, no. That's why most of the people who, go through divorce, over a period of time, they realize when their children suddenly starts rebelling, they're not able to accept the new father. There's something called emotional scars. Just like physical scars, there's something called emotional scars. The wife is not able to shy away from her memories, those intimate moments from her first marriage. She's not able to become one soul, one flesh with her second husband. So slowly they discover this whole self-care moment is one big hoax. Just skip this internal time, and I just want to or they're not looking for understanding. We'll take up these questions a little later. Good questions. I see a lot of good questions. I want to quickly, help you understand. There's something called the feedback loop from hell. I borrowed this phrase from Mark Manson from his book called. You'll read that book. It's full of expletives, but he has a wonderful concept called the feedback loop from right physical ailments. Most of the doctors here, you will agree with me, medical doctors, there is something called psychosomatic illness, right? So mental health and physical health, there's a lot of interplay between both of that. Physical ailments, untreated physical ailments, or chronic pain, for example, you worry because it's not going away. It's not going away, and it soon turns out to be a big stressful thing in your life. And then you feel that, no, my neighbor is doing well, my cousin is doing well, they are doing well, and then you feel like, oh my goodness, and then you kind of become rebellious against God, and then you self-isolate, and that's the classic criteria for depression to follow. And once depression is there, again, that interplay between physical health and mental health, the depression, untreated depression, leads to a lot of physical ailments, namely heart issues, right? And then again, you have a heart attack. Again, there's a lot of statistics on how 1 in 5 people who have a heart attack also have depression soon after. These are all statistics. 1 in 5 people, they have a heart attack. Who have a heart attack, they also have depression soon after. And similarly, when you have depression, anxiety, or stress, your heart rate and your blood pressure rise, right? That's reduced blood flow to the heart, and your body produces all those higher levels of cortisol, a kind of a stress hormone. And over a period of time, these effects can lead to heart disease. Look at all this. That's why it's a classic, how this whole thing plays out. Let me give you another different picture. Sorry, where did I skip? The loneliness loop. You're lonely, you feel discomfort around people, so you have some kind of avoidance, unappealing behaviors, and that turns out to be self-defeating behaviors. Depression, due to depression, your entire behavior, the way you interact is so negative, interpersonal skills is missing, and others begin to avoid the person. And that's how, you kind of, you think, yes, you're right. And this whole cycle keeps repeating. It keeps repeating, right? So, well, again, when we talk about loneliness, sometimes it can be of three different reasons, right? Sometimes loneliness by choice, right? It's not really a rejection, right? For example, you may be a quiet person, unable to communicate properly, restricted by language, culture, right? Sometimes that can also be one of the reasons. So it is by choice. And then there is something called as the forced loneliness, right? Where you don't have, again, a much of a choice. For example, you have lost a loved one. There's a breakup in your relationships, or you moved away from home. I still remember when I was studying in North India, my home is in Chennai, and every time during my college days, I used to come back home for a short vacation in the month of May. And then when I used to go back, those days it was the train, 36 hours, 36 hours I have to travel. I would just peep out from my train door, looking at my dad, waving goodbye. And the next 5 minutes, my heart will be so much heavy to know that I will not be seeing my family for a long time. I know many of you would have experienced that, right? And you don't have a choice, much of a choice there, right? Because this college which I studied was one of the best institutes in India, so I had to be there. So And then there is something called as the intellectual loneliness, right? You may feel you don't just fit in with the crowd, right? Maybe your frequency of thinking is not matching with the people around you, and others are not up to your standards of thinking or believing, and so on. So you might feel also, you can also feel others are not really interested in you. So all these are playing in your mind, and then you want to really, go back in the same loop, which I told, right? You have this discomfort around people, and then you develop all this unappealing behaviors, and and that leads to people closing out, and then there is depression, and then you develop more negative interpersonal behaviors, and others totally avoid you now, and now the case is confirmed. Right? Uh, so loneliness can be of different reasons. Some of the statistics which we see is loneliness is common among minority groups, teens, and the marginalized. Right, they feel more lonely. Um, Particularly, in my counseling center, I've always seen a lot of spikes in cases, especially before and after, especially after any major holiday season. I have seen a lot of spikes in people, coming with depression and loneliness and so on. Common among people with high sensitivity. Some people who are not able to emotionally regulate, and we see a lot of loneliness among them. And it is also common among people with low self-esteem, right? So they're not able to really have a sense of agency, and they feel that they're not able to relate with people and so on. So let me go on to my second half of my presentation, where I told you, how does it, connect with this Pygmalion effect, which I was talking about, and how we can really overcome this this malady which is facing our society right now. Now that I've set the context clear, that how we have forced ourselves into a corner, right? If you look at last slide, where I told you sometimes it could be by choice, sometimes it is forced loneliness, like breakups and losing loved ones, but sometimes it can be intellectual loneliness. That is something very dangerous. That is something very dangerous. So now, how do we deal with this, right? So let me explain to you the Pygmalion effect. The Pygmalion effect is a concept, as I told you, is not related with loneliness, but I thought this was more appropriate when we talk today. What the Pygmalion effect says is basically, here I've taken the example of a teacher. Any situation, it can apply in a marriage, it can apply, in any society, in the role of a society. Okay, so here I've taken the example of a teacher. If a teacher believes that her students in her class will really perform very well, if her belief, just her belief is there, if she has a positive belief, then her entire behavior towards her children will change. She will be right on time, she will be cheerful, she will try to have access to needs to study very well, she will go out of the way to help the children, just because of her belief system that the students will perform really very well. And that leads to a teacher really behaving productively, proactively, positively towards her students. Now that will impact the students' belief about their very own ability. And that in turn will cause them to study very well, put a lot of efforts on their studies, and that will show in good marks. And that will reinforce the teacher's beliefs, right? See, today, if you understand this concept, you'll understand how to break this deadlock. Today, we are talking about a lot of curse breaking and so on. I'm dead against all that. You just understand this whole loop, this Pygmalion effect, you will understand. It doesn't matter how your father and mother lived, it doesn't matter how your grandfather and grandmother lived, the curses could have continued, the kind of lifestyle could have continued, the kind of poverty could have continued, the kind of, this, the way of living, it could have been a messy home, but you have the power to stop that loop right now. All you have to understand is, if your belief towards others in any context, here we're talking about a school context, a teacher's belief, suddenly, she changes her belief into saying, hey, I think from this year, I'm going to get a good class. Before she even meets the new class on June of the particular start of the new year, she says, I think this year my class students are going to be fantastic. They're going to go places. They're going to become some of the successful entrepreneurs in this world. They're going to be leaders of tomorrow. I think I'm going to have a wonderful time with these people. That belief translates into her actions, positive actions, where she gets all the resources. She's cheerful. She's happy to be on time. She's happy to spend more time beyond her stipulated time. She's happy to help all those people who are struggling. And that impacts the students' own belief about themselves, that they can also do something. Now imagine the reverse. If a teacher believes that, I don't think, this school, I don't think, this is just a government school. I don't think that these kids, their parents are just, nobody. I don't think these kids are going anywhere. Today, all these kids are interested in drugs and so on. I don't think, these kids are going anywhere. And then what happens? She drags her feet to the school. She's not even interested to finish the syllabus. She's just there just to mark attendance and just to show that she's there, so that she can pick up the pay slip at the end of the month. And then guess what happens? The students, and these are all proven. Today I don't have time to show you all this research behind this, how this Pygmalion effect works so wonderfully in every aspect of our lives. And similarly, the students, what happened? They feel that vibes and they think, oh my goodness, maybe the teacher is right. Maybe my environment, my current environment, my family, I have that skill. I don't think I can make it. And then they put a shoddy effort, and then the results, the behaviors are different. They get poor marks, and that reinforces the teacher's original belief that these students, oh, I told you right, these students are good for nothing. Now, the same thing I told you, we can apply in different forms. The Pygmalion effect in relationships. Others' expectations about us influence their behavior towards us. Their behavior towards us influences how we see ourselves. See ourselves influences our own behavior. Our behavior towards others influences their beliefs and reinforces their expectations. Let me give you an example from a relationship point of view. I give you the loop, let me give you a feedback loop from heaven. Wife has a positive expectation, right? The husband, both of them are different, and the husband is not up to the mark, but still the wife, she puts the best foot forward, and she says, I'm going to make a beautiful home. I'm going to, leave a wonderful legacy. So she's saying, I'm going to be positive. What the husband says, despite the grumpy, like the grumpy grandfather we saw in the first picture of the slide, he says, I'm going to put up positive expectation. So her behavior also is very positive. She wakes up early in the morning, she works hard, she makes sure the house is well fed, and then everybody are happy. And despite all that, let's assume for a moment the husband's negative behavior still continues. That's where I said, most of the time, we continue this feedback loop from hell instead of going to this feedback loop from heaven. Despite the husband's negative behavior, instead of going for a tit for tat, she starts reframing the whole situation. She says, maybe my husband is tired from office. Maybe my husband is having a very tough boss, and that's why he's grumpy at home. She kind of reframes the whole situation, and instead of reacting negatively, she reacts positively. And guess what happens? The Pygmalion effect, like a magic, blooms in their household. Over a period of time, the negative husband suddenly starts showing positive behavior, and that reinforces the positive expectations which the wife originally had initially. It applies even with children, right? Believe that they would excel very well in school. If you really think so, you'd be interested in giving them resources and attention. But most of the time, some of the statements we tell in our household is, oh, when I grew up, I knew some of my friends at school who used to come and tell me, oh, my parents used to, say, nee maadu mekada like it. That means in English, you're only fit for, herding a bunch of buffaloes. You're not going anywhere. You're not going to achieve anything in life. And guess what happened? Most of the people who grew up in that environment were not able to achieve anything in their life. But I also know, in fact, personally, of friends who studied in government school who had a wonderful parent who encouraged them. They said, it doesn't matter where you study, it doesn't matter whether you study in one of the best international school or in a government school. I believe in you. I think you can do it. What you study and what you do later on there is no connection. All that matters is values. Be a good boy, be helpful, be kind, be loving, keep studying, keep working hard. When they instilled all these values in them and they gave them the best possible resources, attention, love, there. These children, they went on to become great, achievers in life because they displayed positive behaviors because of the positive beliefs they had in themselves, which they got from their positive parents. Okay, so now you'll be wondering, how come all this are related to um, loneliness, right? So, it's the same thing. If you look at the basic human needs, the need to belong, the need to love and connect, the need to contribute, the need to feel significant, keep growing, right? These are some of the basic human needs they have, right? The need to love others, the need to connect, the need to contribute, help, the need to serve community, the need to feel significant, the need to keep growing for our own good. And then the last one is the need to belong, right? So when we are really stuck, I told you the self-care movement has made us stuck in the four corners of the world. It is the responsibility of us to break that loop and say, hey, yes, they can be toxic. Yes, my friend made a very caustic comment. Yes, they did something which was not nice, but still I'm going to give them another chance. And I am going to display positive behavior instead of reacting negatively. What happens is, over a period of time, you suddenly realize that person's behavior has changed, and that will reinforce your original expectation about them, that man by nature is good, as well as he has this temptations and sometimes all this distractions and all those things which makes him behave a little off mark. So that's how you break this loop, not by getting from a big tribe to a small community to a small family, and then moving away from a family to a one bedroom apartment, and then now you're finally stuck with you and your cat. That's not the progression we want to go. We want to really move toward the other side of the progression, where we want to really work as a group, work as a team, work as a society, work as a nation, because man has been designed to form, is a social animal, and that's one of the why, and that's how the human race itself has evolved over a period of time. Okay, so as I told you, I'll stop here. I have lots of things to say, but I'm interested more in the Q&A, which will follow now. I just will leave you with this thought as we move towards Christmas. I want you to keep this. If you want to take a photo, you can take a photo of the slide. Feel like lost your value. If you feel that you have been let down, if you feel like not able to understand you, people are not able to appreciate you, people are not able to gel with you, get along with your frequency of thoughts. I just want you to understand there is somebody who still understands you. There is a creator God who really still understands you. He knows how valuable you are, how wonderful you are, how lovely you are. Man with this limited wisdom, is not able to understand everything. So we need to understand this also, right? Because sometimes we feel like I say that others are not up to my standards, up to my frequency. I need to understand, hey, Billy, you need to understand others, have this tiny little brain. They cannot understand everything. So you have to give them the benefit of doubt, right? So, but God is somebody who can really understand you, and in His eyes, you have not at all lost 1 inch of value, right? 1 iota, or not even, He still loves you, He cares for you, and we're working on new projects, right? And I'm not saying, you just dump one project if somebody dumps you. That's not what I'm saying. Think of doing something memorable, think of doing something creative, think of doing something which will be a lasting legacy. For example, I often tell people who are nearing their retirement, I tell them, hey, one of your biggest um, goal these days should be, right, leaving a wonderful legacy. In fact, I tell this to anybody who's above 40 and above, when I you're going to live in this world, right? Make sure that you leave a legacy, right? So give away your materials free, give away your trainings, do your trainings free of cost, because we don't know when we'll be out of this world. All the good things which the Lord has taught you, train leaders. Second Timothy chapter 2 verse 2 says, somehow we need to interest all these things into people who will be able to train others, right? So work on such projects, mentor young people. As in leadership, I'm so far, leadership is one of my favorite subjects. I always say a good leader is somebody who's able to create a lot of leaders, not somebody who's able to create a lot of followers. So make sure that you're able to identify young talents. That is the mark of a great leader. Handhold them, right? I'm not saying forever, at least for some time being, handhold them, and then go ahead and identify some more new people, young leaders, right? And you mentor them and pass on your knowledge, and so on. If you want to write books, please write books, so that that is another legacy which will keep on going, and people will always refer to what good things you have to say. So you can always find satisfaction in indulging in new hobbies, and you know be in the presence of new friends and community. I can tell you one. I want to end. Um, um, Let me stop sharing. Um, I've always uh, when there's a problem in your marriage or even in your office, you have a running away from that person is not the solution, because the world is full of such people. I'm not saying all the people. I always ask this question to people who come to me for divorce counseling. They say, I ask them, what is the guarantee that the next person whom you're going to marry will not be worse than this guy? And they look at me and then they say, but I still want a divorce. Running away from the problem is not the solution. Finding a way to address the problem is what smart people do. If you have a tough boss, don't run away from that. I know a lot of youngsters, they say, I want a different project. I don't think this project will work because the people here are from different language and they are from a different community. My boss doesn't like me. He looks to be very, very selfish. He's towards others. So I don't think I can thrive here. So I want to change the project. I said, no, there's no guarantee that you're going to thrive anywhere else. Maybe it might turn out to be much worse than this guy. But see how you can change him by a good work, by a good attitude, right? And that's how we can make this world a better place. That's how we can all work together as a team. Otherwise, the self-care propagandists, they're going to win the day and they're going to destroy all our souls. In fact, I would leave you with this beautiful thought with Stephen Hawking, one of the leading scientists of our time, but a vociferous atheist. You know what he said? In one of his lectures, he said, there is no doubt the human mind is such wonderful, it can devise great things. We're going to achieve, and I'm just paraphrasing what he said. We're going to achieve a lot of things. We're going to do great things by 2050. We can even find a way to reach Mars. But then he says this wonderful thing. I will never forget what he said. An atheist saying this. We live. But the only question is whether there'll be left anyone to go to Mars, because by the time we would have killed and eaten each other. I hope this talk was useful to you. I'm opening up the floor for any questions. Let's have a meaningful interaction. God bless you all as you move towards the time of Christmas. May you find healing, solace, the loving arms of God. And God's beautiful desire is that we live harmoniously, because that's what we'll be doing one day. In the new heaven, there will be no tears, no death, no sickness, no suffering. God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Billy Paul. Such an interesting subject, and so beautifully you brought it out. Well, unfortunately, we are running out of time. So if there's anybody with a dying question you just want to ask, can you quickly ask? And then I will ask Sister Vasantha Edwards. Are you still here to close us in prayer, please? Don't feel shy. Any questions that's on your heart, you could quickly ask.
Yeah,
Did she say? Yes.
I have one question.
Sure, Brother Sam. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Brother Billy. And in the past also, I have listened to you, and you're a very practical man. I'm not trying to praise you, but what you are, I'm saying. My, has all the knowledge, advancement, and even at all level, intellectual level also, has it anyway uh, changed the mindset of people vis-a-vis with each other?
Yeah, absolutely. You're bang on target, right? See, that's what what we are failing to understand. Even I have touched the tip of the iceberg. That's the tip agenda, right? This feminism movement, the self-care movement, and that movement, and this movement we're talking about, right? We have only touched the tip of the iceberg. All these things, right, is leading us towards self-aggrandizement. Today I see a lot of narcissistic personalities in my clinic. So when we're talking about this advancements, when we're talking about this empowerment, all these are good, right? We're only seeing the one side of the coin, right? Whether it is women's empowerment and everything, even economic liberation. Our country is going through a huge economic liberation, and we are progressing very well in terms of per capita income and so on. We are looking at one side of the story. The other side of the story is, as they create this opportunity, as they provide you with all these resources, they're also on the other side is saying, hey, come spend all your money. Hey, come, you know. In fact, there was a famous billboard some years ago in Bangalore. Huge billboard. When I was passing through the town, only a few words were there. Heaven is calling. Where are you? And it was an advertisement for a pub. So what is basically is happening is, right, so with all the advancements, what they're basically saying is you don't need anybody. Money can solve all problems. You can get away with everything. Just pay a few bucks here and there, you will get your way through. In fact, I will tell you, I can write a thesis on this. I can tell you, money will solve nothing. I was just talking the other day with my wife. Some of the maids, I have great respect for them, but I'm taking that as an example to say how much they have progressed in their life, right? Because that's something, we're talking about is economic liberation. They have progressed so much. You won't believe me. My maid, and I've heard this from many of my friends also. They said they do such a shoddy job because they work here 30 minutes, 40 minutes, they quickly rush to another home, they work 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And sometimes I look at them and tell them, hey, what is this? Can you do it a little better? They will just look at you like this. And then I told my wife, okay, let's ask them how much more money they can do a good job. So we go and ask them, like, hey, how much? They say, okay, if you can double it, I will really do a good job. I say, okay, let's double it. As a psychologist, I love experiments. Let's double it. You won't believe me, nothing has changed in their behavior. They still do the same shoddy job. 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 They still do the You're right, brother. You're absolutely right. So this is all is leading us not towards bringing instilling new values. It's actually destroying whatever is left within us, and we are becoming, as C.S. Lewis said, men without chests. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Brother Sam. Any other questions? So shall we? Well, thank you once again, Brother Billy. It was so wonderful to hear and to know that God is bringing us back, to that beautiful place where we need each other, and how much encouragement and society can build each other. Once again, thank you, Brother Billy. Thank you, everyone who's been here. And we want to close this session and wish you all, just as thirst is a need, hunger is a need, loneliness is a need. May everyone be met, may your needs be met by the lovely creations that God has created people and his presence, and may you have a wonderful festival time. Thank you once again, everyone, and thank you for all the participants who've been here. Thank you.